Do you know where I am?
This is Hoa Lo Prison, the most secure prison in Indochina. That's located in the most special street in Vietnam, Hoa Lo Street. This street has only one number.
After the Treaty of 1883, the French officially turned Vietnam into a colony. People were oppressed, and resistance movement in Hanoi grew stronger than ever. As arrests surged, the number of prisoners overwhelmed sitting facilities. At one point, the French even considered turning Chung Pagoda into a detention site. In the end, they decided to build a central prison right in the heart of Hanoi by the end of the 19th century. In early 1895, under increasing pressure from revolutionary movement, the French rushed to build a large-scale prisons. They chose this very spot in central Hanoi to construct it. The prison is originally covered 10,800 square meters, but by 1993, due to urban planning and the construction of Hanoi Towers, only 2,434 square meters remains today.
In about the gate, you can still see the words, the Maison Centrale. That means the central house in French.
It was a misleading name, disguising what was, in truth, a living house inside. The preserved complex includes structures like the surrounding walls, the main gate, D and E cell blocks, dark solitary cells, the execution yard, woman's ward, and even the old tropical almond tree that witnessed it all. This is the scenery. You can see the peaceful scenery of the village, making a portrait. This place used to be the Phu Khanh Village, the village that making the ceramic and pottery. And the name Hoa Lo, that means the fiery furnace. So when the French took the land of the village to build a prison, the name Hoa Lo was used for the prisoners, for the prisons like you see nowadays. From Hoa Lo village, turn it to the Hoa Lo prison. This is the panorama of Hoa Lo Prison in 1896. With a site of nearly 12,900 square meters, it was built by the architect Nguyen Thi. Interestingly, although the construction was not yet complete, the French authorities began using the prison due to urgent demand and budget constraint. Once it was partially operational, construction continued with two main sections: the administrative area and the detention block. The French imposed strict requirements for all building materials. Every metals item used, from locks, hinges, and latches to door and hooks, had to be imported directly from France and pass rigorous quality inspection. Even the glass panels had to meet two strict standards. They had to be completely transparent and free from air bubbles. The bricks and tiles was produced according to French standard, significantly larger than original Vietnamese tiles. Only later were local materials used to replace them. This is the original gate of Hoa Lo Prison. It was made of timber, wood, and iron, with a height of 2.5 meters, and each wing is weight of 800 kilograms. It was made of heavy wood and required wheels to open and close. Out of fear that prisoners might escape, the guard later ordered all doors to be reinforced with iron sheets and additional security bars. Locks were placed outside of the cell, not inside, to prevent prisoners from tampering with them. These security measures reflect the true intentions of the French to build an impenetrable prison, one from which no inmate could ever escape. The next area is the corridor connecting cell blocks D and E. This space now displays various artifacts and personal belongings used by the prisoners. Here, you can see the standard uniform worn by convict inmates. The shirt was made from was made from coarse off-white fabric. Without button, it was tied with a simple string. The trousers followed traditional design, featuring with white legs and a drawing waist. The letter MC, short for Maison Saint-Anne, the prison's French name, was stamped on the shirt. These uniforms was poorly made with low-quality materials that tore easily and offered little warmth during the winters. To survive the cold, the prisoner had to layer multiple garments on top of each other. Female inmates even tried to collect bits of cotton from nearby pharmacies, little by little, to sew pedal chest, one for extra insulation. Next to the uniform, you'll find utensils such as bowls, spoons, and chopsticks. However, due to fears that prisoners might use them to attack the guards, these items were banned during meals. Instead, inmates had to eat from the shared wooden chalks or tin containers known as lapla. To craft even the most basic eating tools, prisoner has to rely on incredible resourcefulness. While working outside, they would secretly gather fallen tropical almond branches to make chopstick or pick up discarded coconut shells from French soldiers and grind them against the ground to shape them into bowls. This is Cell E, the place-keeping meals for political prisoners. It was made like a concrete block, with a ceiling made by a concrete, made it impossible to escape. This area has been preserved almost exactly as it was and now showcases 59 artifacts, including prisoner statues, latrines, water basins, mobile waste containers, wooden leg stalks, and sleeping platforms. This is the uncovered squat public toilet for the prisoners. As you can see, there was no cover, forcing the prisoners have to use the toilet in front of the others. That's like a punishment for the prisoners to stay here. The statues of the prisoners are sculptured in striking details, depicting brave, emaciated body that vividly bring to life the grim reality of prison's life. The wooden leg stalks or shackles include iron bars curved to fit around the ankles. In an attempt to escape, some prisoners developed an ingenious method. They burned the wood, used big fat and charcoal to expand the shackle holes, then cover the modification with shot and oil machine oil to mimic the original surface. However, the guards eventually discover this tactic and reinforce the base with iron plate to prevent further tampering. This is the dungeon, confirmed the most dangerous and stubborn prisoners, was called the Hell of the Hells. The floor of each cell was intentionally sloped with the head up and 30 centimeters lower than the feet. This caused blood to rush to the brain, leading dizziness, numbness, and physical paralysis. Conditions here were extremely harsh. Inmates were only allowed to eat once every 3 days, and for 2 of those days, they received tasteless, diluted meals. They had to relieve themselves inside the cell. Just a few days in the place could cause the prisoner to go blind, suffer severe swellings, or develop skin infection due to the complete lack of fresh air in and sunlight. One of the most notable inmates once imprisoned here was Chung, who later became the General Secretary of the Vietnam Communist Party. Despite the brutal oppressions, he managed to organize the underground May Day celebration right here in the prison. That act of defiance stands as a powerful symbol of resilience, courage, and the unbreakable spirit of Vietnam's revolutionary fighters. Stepping out of the cachot cells, the first rays of light appear in the courtyard of Block E. Here stands a tropical almond tree, bang tree, considered as a silent witness to the history. This tree bore witness to the suffering resilience of countless prisoners. More than just a symbol, it also provides practical support. Its leaves, bark, were used to make traditional medicine, while its branches became tools for studying and daily living.
Next to the tree are two underground sewer gates, secret passageway that once led to some of the most legendary escape attempts in the history of Hoa Lo Prison.
From 1932 to 1951, 4 major prison escapes took place here. The first happened in December 1932. A group of revolutionary prisoners fought illness to be transferred to Phu Khanh Hospital. There, they managed to escape over the world right on the Christmas Eve. Later, we reached the exhibition area. I will tell you in detail about the breakout that shocked all the Indochina's, even the France itself. Another large-scale escape took place in March 1945. Over 100 prisoners was involved, including future communist leaders such as Do Bưởi, Trần Đăng Ninh, and Trần Tử Vinh. They escaped through an underground sewer located in the courtyard of Block J. And here it is, the underground sewer gate that led to the most legendary escape of all. On December 24, 1951, 16 prisoners who had been sentenced to death attempted a daring breakout. Only 5 of them succeeded. The other was brutally tortured, sent to the Notorious Courtyard of Prison or executed. Those who survived eventually released after the August Revolution in 1954. You can also see a historic photograph of prisoners sawing through the iron bars in preparation for escape, a powerful image that captures their unbreakable spirit and determination. Now follow me to the women's detention area, where female political prisoners was held under conditions just as harsh as men's. In many cases, even more severe.
This is the room where kept Nguyen Thi Quang Thai, the female prisoner that was the first wife of Vietnamese army general for Nguyen Thi.
They married when she was only 20 and he was 24. But because of the war, they shared just 5 short years together. In 1942, Quang Thai was arrested and sentenced to 16 years in prison at Hoa Lo. Even in captivity, she became a source of strength and inspiration for her fellow inmates, encouraging them to keep learning, to stay strong, and to continue the fight. In 1943, when a typhoid outbreak swept through the prisons, she used her medical knowledge to care for the sick, yet selflessly supporting her sister in arms. But eventually, she still fell ill. In 1944, completely exhausted and near death, she was finally transferred to Phu Khanh Hospital, where she passed away. She died before ever having the chance to see her newborn daughter. That devastating loss became a lifelong source of strength for General Nguyen Thi, fueling his determination for fighting not only for the nation, but also for the beloved wife who gave her life for it.
This is the base detentions for women and female prisoners, with a size of 200 square meters. Sometimes keep up to 300 female prisoners. Because when the moms was arrested into the prisons, the children have nobody to take care of them outside. So they have to follow their moms to stay in
with moms.
Yet food rations were still calculated for only 1 person. That meant the children accompanying their mothers has to endure constant hunger and deprivation. The damp, polluted environment made it nearly impossible for them to grow and develop properly. According to the memoirs, the years that will never be forgotten by a former inmate, the prison cells was stiflingly crammed in both summer and winter, with serious lack of air circulation. Nearly 200 people had to share a single narrow water tap. Bathing was strictly rational. If you bathed every day, you were allowed just one small scoop of water. If you bathed every other day, you were given 2 scoops. Due to these harsh limitations, many women were forced to bath completely naked in front of the others, an experience that brought deep shame yet became an unavoidable part of the daily survival behind the walls.
Now we enter the horrifying chamber that reveals the brutal tortures and execution carried out by the French colonial regime. Behind me here is the Guillotine, one of the only 2 machines that brought to Hanoi by the French at the end of the 19th century.
This execution device features a steel frame nearly 4 meters tall, with a heavy, slanted blade weighing about 60 kilograms. When released, the blade would serve a prisoner's head in a single strike. The severed head was thrown into tin containers, while the bodies were discarded into woven basket. Sometimes, the head was publicly displayed as a terrifying warning to the people. This very guillotine was dismantled and transported by train to Yên Bai, where it was used to execute 11 members of Vietnam Nationalist Party, including Nguyen Thi Quang Thai, the leaders of the Yên Bai uprising. In October 1931, the guillotine was used again to execute Nguyen Thi Quang Thai as promising 19-year-old youth union members, right in front of Hoa Lo Prison's main gate, an act of public terror meant to intimidate the masses. Beside the guillotine, the exhibitions also display as a series of brutal torture devices: ladders, ropes, electric shock, tools, forced immersions, and waste. Confinement inside barrels. All these were instruments of physical and psychological oppressions inflicted on political prisoners. On the walls, there are photographs of female patriotic fighters, accompanied by their personal testimonies recounting the savage beating and tortures they endured.
Behind me here is the death row cell for the prisoner who were sentenced to death. Mostly the prisoner was imprisoned here for 10 months, but by some reason the French tried to kill them after 2 or 3 days.
But before we enter, here these haunting testimonies from former inmates. On hot summer night, when the prison was dangerously overcrowded, the air inside became suffocating to the point of life-threatening. To avoid the death by asphyxiation, prisoners had to bang on the door and call out for help, pleading with the guards to carry out the weakest and sickest inmates to the outside air. The death row block is located at the far end of the women's prison wings. By regulations, prisoners on death row was held for a minimum of 10 months from the date of sentencing, while awaiting appeals for requests for commutation.
This was a place where many important revolutionary leaders was imprisoned, including Chung, Hoàng Văn Thụ, Trần Đăng Ninh, and Nguyen Thi Quang. One of the most notable cells belongs to the comrade Chung, who later became the General Secretary of Communist Party of Vietnam and a distinguished national leader. leaving the death row cells behind. We now approach the execution yard, the site stained with the blood of history.
This was the locations of many brutal executions carried out by the French colonial regime. Today, the area has been transformed into a memorial covering approximately 200 square meters, dedicated to honoring and remembering the brave fighters who sacrificed their lives. Prominently displayed on the yard wall is the golden inscription that reads, "Heroic and indomitable, glorious forever." A heart-left tribute praising those who fought for the revolutionary cause. This place said to be literally soaked in blood, having witnessed the sacrifice of countless patriots. Within this sacred space stand two frangipani trees planted on February 3rd, 2000 by former President Trần Đức Lương alongside former prisoners, living symbol of memories that can never fade.
During 1964 and 1973, in the wars from Vietnam against America, there was many American pilots in the bomb tanking the north of Vietnam. The aircraft was shot down. They are moving here to be kept. So during nearly 7 years, there's about 300 American pilots who was kept in here, where they call that Hanoi Hilton.
Despite the country's hardship, the Vietnamese government implemented a special humanitarian policy for these prisoners of war. Their food and living standards were even higher than those Vietnamese officials, with daily rations valued at 1.6 dong compared to 0.68 dong for local cadets. They were provided with bread, milk, fried eggs, and meat soup, luxuries that were scarce for the Vietnamese at that time. The pilots also received high-quality cigarettes and had an access to recreational activities such as basketball, reading books, and listening to the radio. Medical care was thought through, with military doctors from major hospitals like 108, 103, and 354 conducting regular checkups. Thanks to this, the spirit and health of American pilots was well maintained, and many trained regularly while awaiting repatriation. Because of the condition, the prison was humorously nicknamed the Hanoi Hilton by the prisoners.
Now, let me guide you to the second floor, where the more touching historical story of it.
This area displays documents and artifacts related to the revolutionary struggle of the imprisoned fighters. In the hall of names, visitors can see the names of 1,666 patriotic fighters who were once detained here, accompanied by commemorative medals honoring their profound sacrifice. This section embodies the indomitable spirit and resilience of the prisoners and stand as proof of the failures of the French colonial attempts to suppress the revolutionary movement. One particularly remarkable artifact is a red flag with a yellow star made by Mr. Do Dang Long. He crafted himself from a Namding wool blanket and candy wrapping paper to hold a flag raising ceremony on the Lunar New Year's Eve of the Year of Dragon in 1952. Although he was searched the very next day, Mr. Do managed to hide the flag in time and keep it intact. This brief yet powerful event reflects the fierce patriotism in burning desire for freedom within the prison's walls.
Next, we come to the reenactment of the famous 1932, the prison escape. Even that shocked both France and Indochina at that time.
As the French intensified their crackdown on revolutionaries, Many fighters such as Lê Duẩn, Nguyen Thao, and Nguyen Lương Bang was arrested and imprisoned in Hoa Lo. After careful planning, they realized a direct breakout from the prison was too risky. Instead, they devised a plan to fake illness in order to be transferred to Phu Duan Hospital, a place for escaping was easier. Initially, 10 people was on the escape list, but 3 comrades were removed due to the suspicions of being transferred elsewhere. The remaining group of 7 included Nguyen Lương Bang, Võ Duy Cương, Nguyễn Trọng Đàm, Phạm Quang Lịch, Bùi Xuân Mẫn, Nguyễn Tạo, and Lê Đình Tuyển. Comrade Phạm Quang Lịch from a well-off family was tasked with preparing money and forged documents for assist after the escape. The plan involved feigning various illnesses. Some pretended to have tuberculosis or heart failure, while others simulated mental disorder by screaming and smashing objects relentlessly. Thanks to his clever strategy, many comrades succeeded at being sent to Phu Duan Hospital. Among them, Lê Đình Tuyển continued to act insane, screaming and shouting to cover the shout of the sawing through the prison bars, aiding the escape plan. However, 2 comrades, Nguyen Lương Bang and Võ Duy Cương, faced difficulties as prison refused to transfer them despite their hunger strike and served physical weakling. Unwilling to give up, they staged a fake suicide attempt by cutting their own necks. Desperate act of protest to force their transfer to the hospital, where the critical phase of the escape would take place. After comrade Nguyen Lương Bang and Võ Duy Cương staged their fake suicide attempt, the wardens discovered it and immediately transferred both to Phu Duan Hospital. This allowed all 7 revolutionaries involved in the escape plan to reunite. On the night of Christmas Eve, December 24, 1932, taking advantage of the fact that people were attending midnight mass and celebrating, the comrade quietly saw through the windows bar, previously weakened in secret, then slipped outside, climbed over those walls and fences, and disappeared into the crowd. They left behind a note to mislead the French colonists, claiming that supporter was waiting outside with cars and ready to take them to the border. During the escape, the comrade crossed many flood fields, avoid main road, hid during the days, and traveled by night before finally returning to their local area to continue the revolutionary struggle. This daring prison break enraged the French authorities, who launched a fishery manhunt, published wanted poster, offered reward, and even promised promotion to district chef who could capture these escapes. However, the local people wholeheartedly sheltered and hid them, risking their own life and families. This event became the legendary escape that shocked all of Indochina and even the France itself.
It is through the blood and tears of the generation before us that the homeland of Vietnam was forged. Unwavering in one of beliefs or goal, maintaining a strong commitment despite challenges.
That the revolutions of flame is not only a symbol of remembrance, but also a guiding light today for generations to learn, grow, and contribute. Visiting Hoa Lo Prison, even for a brief journey, helped you grasp the harsh realities of wars and the resilient spirit of revolutionary fighters.
If you have a chance, come and visit the historical site yourself to deeply feel its sacred atmosphere through the artifacts, story, and space that it holds.